Have you ever felt that sudden shift when the man you deeply care about begins to pull away? One day he's close, warm, and connected, and the next day it feels like there's a wall between you and him. His messages get shorter, his voice loses that spark, his presence feels distant even when he's right beside you, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? If you've ever felt that quiet ache inside, you are not alone. Almost every woman has faced that moment where her heart begins to doubt her worth because of his distance. But here's the truth you need to hear today. His distance does not define you. His silence does not measure your value. And his pulling away is not the end of your story. It might actually be the beginning of your greatest transformation. That is what this message is about. Not chasing, not begging, not losing yourself, but rediscovering the power that has always lived inside of you. I want you to listen closely, because if you stay with me until the very end of this video, you will discover a perspective so powerful, it will change the way you see relationships forever. You'll learn the exact shift in mindset that makes him either step closer with respect or allows you to walk away with unshakable dignity. That is the reward for listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Right now, in this moment, I want you to remember something. You are not chasing love. You are the love. You are not begging for attention. You are the prize. And when he pulls away, it is not the universe punishing you. It's the universe whispering. It's time to turn inward. It's time to see who you really are without leaning on someone else for your worth. Think about it. Why do we hurt so deeply when someone we love becomes distant? It's because our mind immediately translates his withdrawal as rejection. Psychology tells us that humans are wired to seek connection. And when that connection is threatened, the brain reacts with fear of abandonment, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. But here is the most important truth. His distance is not rejection. His silence is not the end of your value. The fear you feel is just a story your mind is telling you, and you have the power to change that story. This is where most people get trapped. They believe the only way to heal the distance is to chase. They call more, text more, demand answers, beg for reassurance. But that behavior is not love. It is fear disguised as love, and fear pushes people further away. Deep inside, you know this is true. You know that clinging never creates closeness, and yet, when he pulls away, it feels so tempting to run after him because your mind is craving certainty. But here's the secret you must remember. Real power begins the moment you stop chasing what's running and start standing still in your own strength. You might be thinking right now, but if I don't chase him, won't I lose him? Let me tell you this. If a man can walk away because you stopped chasing, then he was never truly yours to begin with. What belongs to you will come closer, and what is not meant for you will drift away no matter how tightly you hold on. The only thing you risk losing by chasing is yourself, and losing yourself is far more painful than losing anyone else. So when he pulls away, I want you to ask yourself a different question. Instead of asking, why is he doing this to me? Ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? That's a powerful shift. Because every challenge in love is either breaking you down or building you up, and you get to decide which one it will be. Let this sink deep into your heart. You are not here to be half loved, half seen, half valued. You are here to be loved fully, without hesitation. And sometimes, the universe allows someone to pull away just to remind you that your worth was never in their hands. It has always been in yours. I know it hurts when someone you care about goes distant. I know it feels like a storm you can't control. But storms have a purpose too. They clear the air, they test the foundation, and they reveal what's truly strong. You are that strength. You are that foundation. And when you choose to stand in your worth, no silence, no distance, no withdrawal can shake you. If you keep listening until the end, I will show you exactly how to turn his pulling away into your opportunity for growth. I will share with you the mindset that not only makes him respect you more, but also frees you from the chains of fear and neediness. And when you grasp this truth, you will never again fear someone's distance. Instead, you will see it as the mirror that reflects your own power back to you. So let's begin this journey. From this moment forward, decide that his distance is not your downfall. It is your awakening. Decide that this is not about losing love, but about finding yourself, because when you find yourself, you never lose. And the woman who never loses herself, she becomes unstoppable. When someone you care about begins to act distant, the first thought that rises is often self-blame. You wonder if you said something wrong, if you failed to show enough love, or if you somehow pushed him away without realizing it. But before you let your mind run in circles, you need to understand an important truth. Distance is not always about you. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with what is going on inside him. Human beings have patterns. Psychology shows us that men often step back when they feel pressure, confusion, or even their own fears about love. It can happen when life overwhelms them, when they face stress they cannot explain, or when emotions feel heavier than they know how to handle. In these moments, distance becomes their way of coping, not a reflection of your value. Understanding this is the first step toward peace. Think about it this way. Just as you may need quiet time to reflect when you feel overwhelmed, he might retreat into himself to find clarity. But when we don't understand this, we take it personally. The mind begins to whisper lies. He doesn't care anymore. He must have lost interest. He's slipping away. Those thoughts grow louder until they become unbearable. But here's the reality. Many times, his distance is not rejection. It is protection. It is him trying to handle his inner world in the only way he knows. The danger comes when you let fear guide your response. If you assume his silence means you are unworthy, you hand over your power. You begin to operate from desperation rather than dignity. And once you step into that place, your actions no longer come from love, they come from fear. That is why it is so important to see the bigger picture. His distance is not a mirror of your value, it is a window into his struggles, his habits, or his doubts. Every person at some point feels the need to pull back and breathe. It doesn't mean they don't care. It doesn't mean they don't love. Sometimes it is simply a signal that they are trying to regulate their emotions. Just as storms are part of nature, pauses are part of relationships. But here is the critical point. How you respond to the pause can either build strength or create cracks. When you learn to recognize that his retreat may have roots deeper than your actions, you begin to free yourself from overthinking. You stop torturing your mind with endless what-ifs. Instead, you find clarity. This distance is his choice, his process, and I will not let it rewrite my worth. That mindset is powerful, because once you stop taking it personally, you stop bleeding energy into worry, and the less you worry, the stronger your presence becomes. Remember this, men are often taught to hide vulnerability. Society conditions them to appear strong, to avoid showing fear, to keep emotions locked away. So when feelings grow too heavy, many retreat not because they don't care, but because they were never taught how to face emotions openly. Their silence is their armor, their distance is their shield. And when you see it through that lens, you understand. It is not about you failing, it is about them protecting themselves. But knowing this does not mean you must wait in pain. It does not mean you should accept neglect. What it means is that you can choose peace instead of panic. You can choose patience instead of pressure. Because the truth is, the more you push during his withdrawal, the more he will run. But the calmer you remain, the more space you give for his return. Think of distance like a rubber band. If you pull it too hard, it snaps. But if you allow it to stretch and rest, it eventually returns to balance. Relationships are much the same. When one person pulls away, chasing only creates more tension. But stillness, calmness, and self-focus create balance. And balance is what keeps love alive. Another truth you must embrace is this: not all distance is temporary. Sometimes it is a sign of a deeper incompatibility. Sometimes it reveals that his priorities are shifting or that he lacks the capacity to meet you fully. As painful as that may be, it is also a gift. Because distance reveals truth. It shows you who is willing to fight for closeness and who is content to drift. Either way, you win. Because clarity is better than confusion and truth is better than illusions. So when he acts distant, do not rush to label it as rejection. See it as information. See it as a lesson. And most importantly, see it as an opportunity to strengthen yourself. His actions may be outside of your control, but your response is fully within your hands. You can choose to stay calm, to stay centered, and to stay rooted in self-respect. That choice is what sets you apart, because here is what will happen. If his distance was temporary, your calm response will draw him back with greater respect. And if his distance was permanent, your calm response will protect your dignity and prepare you for someone who is ready to love you without hesitation. Either way, you rise. Either way, you grow stronger. So let go of the fear that his silence defines your future. Let go of the belief that closeness must always be constant. Accept that space can exist without destroying love. And above all, remind yourself of this: your worth is not negotiable, not shrinking, not fading because of someone's temporary retreat. You are steady, you are valuable, and nothing, not even distance, can change that. When a man begins to grow distant, the urge to react instantly can feel almost impossible to resist. Your heart races, your mind spins, and your emotions scream for relief. The silence feels louder than words, and your instinct tells you to close the gap quickly. This is where many women fall into the first and most dangerous trap, the trap of reacting instead of responding. The human brain is wired for certainty. When something feels uncertain, we crave answers. That is why, when someone important to you withdraws, your natural reaction is to chase clarity. You want to call, to text, to demand reassurance. It is not weakness, it is simply the mind trying to escape fear. But here is the problem. Those quick reactions born out of panic rarely bring you closer. In fact, they often push him even further away. Picture this. He starts pulling back, and you respond by sending multiple messages, asking where he is, wondering why he is acting different, begging for connection. To you, it feels like an attempt to save the bond, but to him, it can feel like pressure, like the walls are closing in. Instead of creating closeness, it reinforces his desire to escape. That is why the first reaction, no matter how natural it feels, often backfires. The heart wants to fix, but true strength lies in restraint. Psychology teaches us that emotions peak and then settle, but only if we allow them space. When you react impulsively, you hand control over to fear. But when you pause, breathe, and wait, you regain control over yourself. That pause is not weakness. That pause is wisdom. Many women believe that silence in the face of distance means they are losing. But silence is not loss. Silence is a strategy. Silence is a way of saying, I respect myself enough not to beg for attention. And that is where the real shift begins, because people are drawn to calm energy, not desperate energy. The more you chase, the more he retreats. But the more you center yourself, the more you become magnetic. Think about your own experiences. When someone clung to you out of fear, did it make you feel closer, or did it make you feel trapped? The same psychology applies here. When he senses you panicking, it triggers resistance. But when he senses your peace, it sparks curiosity. Instead of running further, he begins to wonder why you are so calm, why you are so steady. And that curiosity often pulls him back without you lifting a finger. The trap of reacting quickly is not just about him, it is also about you. Every time you respond out of panic, you teach yourself a dangerous lesson, that your peace depends on his presence. But when you resist the urge to chase, you teach yourself a different lesson, that your calm belongs to you, not to anyone else. That is real freedom. So the next time your emotions push you to reach for your phone, stop. Place it down. Breathe. Ask yourself this question: am I about to act from fear or from strength? If the answer is fear, then waiting is the wiser choice. Because fear-driven actions create regret, but strength-driven actions build respect. This does not mean you should ignore your feelings. Your emotions are valid. The ache you feel when he pulls away is real, but validating your feelings does not mean surrendering to them. It means acknowledging them while still choosing dignity over desperation. And that choice is what separates the strong from the struggling. You see, the first reaction trap is not just about chasing him, it is also about chasing certainty. The mind convinces you that if you can just get answers, the pain will stop. But answers given under pressure rarely bring peace. In fact, they often create more confusion. That is why patience is more powerful than pressure. Patience allows truth to reveal itself naturally, while pressure forces a response that may not even be honest. The hardest part of this trap is the silence. Silence feels unbearable when you want connection, but silence is also the place where you grow. Silence teaches you how to sit with your own emotions, how to build strength from within, and how to stop depending on someone else to calm your fears. That is the hidden gift of restraint. It trains you to master yourself, and once you master yourself, no one's distance can destroy your peace. Imagine the difference between two women in the same situation. One reacts instantly. She texts, she calls, she demands. She ends up feeling even more rejected because her effort meets resistance. The other woman feels the same pain, but she pauses. She gives herself space. She focuses on her own calm. And while he may still be distant, she remains steady, untouched by the storm. Which woman do you think holds more power? Which one do you think leaves a lasting impression? It is always the one who chooses patience over panic. So remember this, the first impulse is not always the right action. The first thought is not always the truth. And the first reaction is not always the path to closeness. The real path is restraint, dignity, and self-control. Because in that space, you discover a strength you never knew you had. Distance does not have to destroy you. It can refine you, but only if you avoid the trap of reacting quickly, only if you choose wisdom over fear, and only if you remember this one truth: you do not need to chase what is yours. What is meant for you will never slip away. Because you stayed calm the moment you stop reacting to his distance, a door opens. The door leads to the most powerful choice you can ever make. The choice to turn your focus inward. Instead of pouring all your energy into fixing him, understanding him, or chasing him, you begin to redirect that energy back into yourself. And when you do this, something extraordinary happens. You begin to rise. Many women spend so much of their strength trying to hold a relationship together that they forget to hold themselves together. They lose touch with their passions, their confidence, their joy, because every ounce of attention is placed on what he is doing or not doing. But love cannot survive when it drains you dry. Real love grows when both people stand in their own wholeness, and that wholeness begins with you. Think of yourself as a flame. When you focus on someone else's distance, your flame flickers and weakens. But when you redirect your focus inward, you feed your own fire. You glow brighter. You create warmth from within. And here's the secret: people are always drawn to those who shine. You don't need to chase. You don't need to beg. You simply need to radiate the light that was already inside you. Shifting your focus inward does not mean ignoring him. It means remembering yourself. It means asking, what do I need right now to feel whole? It means giving yourself permission to nurture your body, your mind, and your soul without waiting for someone else to do it for you. And when you begin to do this, you realize something beautiful. You were never empty. You were never incomplete. You only forgot the power you carried. Psychology teaches us that human attraction is rooted in energy. When your energy is desperate, it repels. When your energy is balanced, it attracts. This is why focusing inward is not only healing for you, it also changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. Instead of trying to pull him closer, you naturally draw respect by showing that your life does not collapse when he steps back. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you did something just for you? When was the last time you picked up a hobby you loved, spent time with people who uplifted you, or invested in your own growth? These are not luxuries. They are necessities. Because when you fill your own cup, you stop looking to someone else to quench your thirst. You stop waiting for his attention to feel alive, because you are already alive within yourself. There is another truth here, one that is often overlooked. When you shift focus inward, you remove the invisible pressure that often pushes him away. Men sense when all your happiness is resting on their shoulders. That weight can feel suffocating. But when you redirect that weight toward your own growth, you free him from pressure while freeing yourself from pain. This creates space, and space is where genuine connection has room to return. Imagine how powerful you become when his withdrawal no longer breaks you. Imagine how attractive it is when you continue smiling, thriving, and living fully even while he pulls back. That is strength. That is magnetism. And that is the version of you that no one can ignore, because deep inside, people are drawn to those who value themselves. They are drawn to the energy of self-respect. The shift inward is not only about self-care on the surface, it is about rebuilding the relationship you have with yourself. It is about looking into the mirror and saying, I am enough, even without his validation. It is about realizing that the love you were trying so hard to receive from him is the love you needed to start giving to yourself. Once you discover this, you stop being a seeker and become a source. And that change transforms everything. This inward focus also protects you from settling. When you value yourself, you stop tolerating half-hearted effort. You stop chasing breadcrumbs. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Instead, you stand tall. You create standards. You allow only those who meet your energy to stay in your life. And that is not arrogance. That is self-respect. The most powerful people are not those who can control others, but those who can control their own focus. When you master where your energy goes, you master your life. If your focus is always outward, on his moods, his actions, his choices, you will always feel powerless. But when your focus turns inward, toward your healing, your joy, your growth, you become unstoppable. This is how you reclaim your balance. Instead of waiting for his return to feel happy, you create happiness right now. Instead of depending on his attention to feel worthy, you affirm your worth daily. Instead of losing yourself in his absence, you find yourself in your own presence. That is the beauty of turning inward. And here's the paradox. The more you focus on yourself, the more he notices. The more he sees your strength, your independence, your glow. Distance becomes a test, and your response to it becomes the answer. Because while others fall apart when someone pulls away, you rise higher. While others lose themselves, you find yourself, and that difference is unforgettable. So let his distance be the spark that awakens you. Let it remind you of all the dreams you placed on hold, all the passions you once had, all the parts of yourself you forgot. Pour energy into them. Grow, glow, rise. Because when you shift the focus inward, you stop being defined by what he does, and you start being defined by who you choose to become. There comes a moment when you realize that the strongest thing you can ever do in love is to take back your emotional power. Because the truth is, no one can truly take it from you. You only give it away when you start believing that your peace depends on someone else's actions. When he becomes distant, you may feel like your happiness is slipping through your fingers. But in reality, the only thing slipping away is the illusion that you were ever powerless. Emotional power means remembering that your heart belongs to you first. It means deciding that your inner world will not be controlled by his moods, his silence, or his decisions. This is not about ignoring feelings. It is about protecting your energy. Because when you hand your emotions over to someone else, you live like a puppet, pulled by their closeness, broken by their distance. But when you reclaim that power, you stop being the puppet and become the one who chooses. Think about how often people lose themselves when they love. They give and give until there is nothing left. They wait for texts, for calls, for words of reassurance, and their sense of worth rises and falls like waves on the shore. But life is not meant to be lived like that. You are not here to ride emotional roller coasters created by someone else. You are here to stand firm, to breathe deeply, and to know who you are, no matter who steps closer or further away. Reclaiming your emotional power begins with awareness. Ask yourself, am I living as the center of my own life, or have I made someone else the center? If the answer is the latter, it is time to pull your strength back into yourself. Because the more you revolve around another person, the more you forget your own orbit. And when you forget yourself, you shrink into someone unrecognizable. That is not love, that is self-abandonment. You may have been taught to believe that love means sacrifice, that giving everything away is noble. But true love does not demand you lose yourself. True love thrives when two whole people come together, not when one person dissolves into the other. That is why reclaiming your power is not selfish, it is essential. Without it, you cannot experience a relationship that is healthy, balanced, and lasting. Psychology shows us that people are drawn to strength, not the kind of strength that never cries or never feels pain, but the kind that holds steady in the storm. When you reclaim your emotional power, you show that strength. You show that you are capable of love, but you are not desperate for it. You show that you can care deeply, but you will never collapse without constant reassurance. That steadiness is magnetic. It commands respect. The most freeing moment comes when you realize you don't have to beg anyone to value you. You don't have to twist yourself into knots to keep someone close. Because when you reclaim your emotional power, you understand this. If someone chooses you, it will be from respect, not pity. And if they walk away, it does not break you. It clears the path for someone who is strong enough to stay. Either way, you remain whole. Taking back your power also means creating boundaries, not walls that shut people out, but healthy limits that protect your heart. It means saying, I will not chase. I will not settle for half love. I will not sacrifice my dignity for attention. Boundaries are not punishments, they are declarations of self-worth. And when you honor them, you send a message, I know my value, and I refuse to forget it. This transformation is not easy. There will be moments when your emotions scream for you to break your own strength, when you feel the temptation to beg for closeness just to ease the ache. But that is when you remind yourself, every time you choose dignity over desperation, you grow stronger. Every time you hold your ground, you build respect for yourself and from others. And every time you protect your energy, you are teaching the world how to treat you. Think about the kind of woman who inspires others. She is not the one who falls apart because of someone else's distance. She is the one who carries herself with grace no matter the circumstance. She's the one who knows her heart is powerful and refuses to let it be controlled by someone else's silence. That is who you are becoming when you reclaim your emotional power. This power does not mean you stop loving. It means you love differently. You love without losing yourself. You care without clinging. You give without emptying your soul. You are still tender, still compassionate, still open. But now you are also grounded, and that balance is the most attractive, unshakable version of you. So when someone pulls away, let that be the moment you pull yourself closer, closer to your dreams, closer to your goals, closer to the woman you were always meant to be. Let it be the moment you rise above fear, above insecurity, above the need for external validation. Because once you hold your emotional power in your own hands, no one can take it away again. Never forget this truth. Love can add to your happiness, but it should never be the source of it. Your happiness must begin with you. Your strength must begin with you, and your peace must begin with you. That is what reclaiming emotional power is all about. Choosing yourself over and over until your heart beats with freedom no matter who stays or who leaves when someone steps back from you. The greatest test is not their distance, it is your response. This is where calm becomes your greatest strength. Calm is not silence born from fear, and it is not pretending you do not care. Calm is control. It is grace under pressure. It is the decision to stand steady in the middle of uncertainty. Most people underestimate the power of composure. They believe words must be spoken, messages must be sent, and action must be taken immediately to save what is slipping away. But true power is often shown in the choice to pause, to breathe, to wait. Calmness is not weakness. It is the highest form of self-mastery. Imagine two hearts facing the same situation. One responds with panic, raising questions, demanding attention, and searching desperately for reassurance. The other responds with poise, neither chasing nor collapsing, simply holding ground with quiet dignity. Which one do you think leaves a lasting impression? The storm may be loud, but the stillness that survives it speaks louder. Responding with calm also creates space for truth. When you rush to fill the silence with endless words or attempts to force closeness, you cloud the reality of what is happening. But when you remain steady, the truth eventually reveals itself. You give the other person a chance to reflect without pressure, and you give yourself the chance to see clearly what their distance really means. This is not just about him, it is about you. Your calm is a shield for your heart. It prevents you from saying things in the heat of fear that you may later regret. It protects your dignity from choices made out of desperation. It allows you to move forward without creating damage that could have been avoided. Calm is not passive, it is intentional. Psychology shows us that emotions are contagious. When one person becomes frantic, the other often mirrors that energy, escalating the tension. But the reverse is also true. When one person remains grounded, it creates an anchor in the storm. Your calmness is that anchor. It not only stabilizes you, but also influences the entire dynamic. Instead of feeding chaos, you introduce balance. This does not mean you should never speak or express your feelings. It means choosing the right moment and the right energy. Words spoken with calm carry weight. Words spoken with panic often fall on deaf ears. When you approach someone from a place of peace, you invite understanding. When you approach from fear, you invite resistance. The difference is not in the words themselves, but in the energy that carries them. Responding with calm also teaches self-respect. Every time you choose composure, you remind yourself that your value is not dependent on chasing, pleading, or losing control. You remind yourself that your peace cannot be stolen by someone else's retreat. That is how self-trust grows, by proving to yourself that you can handle discomfort without breaking. Think about the image of a mountain. No matter how strong the wind blows, the mountain remains. It does not chase the storm. It does not beg the clouds to stay. It simply stands, unshaken, knowing that the storm will pass. You are that mountain when you choose calm. And like the mountain, your strength becomes undeniable. Another hidden power in calm is clarity. Fear blurs your vision. Anxiety fills your mind with assumptions, making you imagine stories that may not even exist. But calm clears the fog. It allows you to separate facts from fears, reality from imagination. And with clarity, you make better choices. You respond with wisdom instead of reaction. There is also a quiet confidence in staying calm. It communicates, without a single word, that you value yourself enough not to crumble. It shows that you are not controlled by anyone's presence or absence. That confidence is magnetic. It draws respect because it is rare. Many people lose themselves when faced with uncertainty. Few remain steady, and it is always the steady ones who are remembered. You may be asking, but how can I stay calm when my heart is hurting? The answer lies in perspective. Calm does not mean you feel no pain. Calm means you decide not to let the pain dictate your actions. It means you allow the hurt to exist without letting it turn you into someone you are not. It is choosing discipline over impulse, dignity over desperation, and strength over fear. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Calm is like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. Each time you pause instead of panic, you build resilience. Each time you breathe instead of beg, you build trust in yourself. And over time, calm becomes your natural state, even in the most difficult moments. Responding with calm is not about saving the relationship, it is about saving yourself. Because no matter what the outcome is, your peace remains intact. If he chooses to return, he comes back to someone radiant, steady, and strong. If he chooses to stay distant, you walk away with grace instead of regret. Either way, you win, because your calm protected your heart. So remember this, storms are temporary, but the way you handle them leaves a permanent mark. Let your response be steady. Let your presence be strong. Let your energy be calm. Because when you hold yourself with grace in the face of distance, you prove to yourself and to the world that your peace cannot be shaken. Space can feel uncomfortable. When someone you love creates distance, the silence can weigh heavy, as though it is proof that something is breaking. But in reality, space does not have to destroy a connection. Space can actually build value if you know how to use it wisely. The first instinct in moments of distance is to close the gap immediately. But closeness that is forced loses meaning. True closeness is strongest when it is chosen freely. When you allow space, you give both yourself and the other person the chance to decide with clarity, not pressure. That decision holds more power than anything you could ever force. Psychology shows us that scarcity increases value. People notice more when something is not constantly available. Think of your favorite song. If it played all day, every day, it would lose its beauty. But when you hear it after time apart, it feels special again. The same principle applies in relationships. Constant availability, especially in the face of distance, can reduce appreciation. But when you allow space, you remind the other person that your presence is not guaranteed. It is a gift. This is not about manipulation. It is about dignity. It is about showing that your life has depth, purpose, and meaning beyond waiting for someone's attention. It is about proving through action, not words, that you are not dependent on anyone else to feel whole. When you do this, your value increases naturally, because value grows when it is not taken for granted. Think about how humans are wired. We chase what feels rare. We respect what has boundaries. We admire what stands strong on its own. By embracing space instead of fighting it, you embody all three. You become rare because you do not flood someone with constant attempts for attention. You show boundaries because you refuse to give all of yourself to someone who is pulling away. And you show strength because you thrive even in uncertainty. There is another layer to this. Space is not just for them, it is for you. When you create distance, you gain perspective. You see things more clearly. You notice whether the relationship is balanced or one-sided. You discover whether the other person values your presence enough to come closer again. Without space, you may overlook red flags or settle for less than you deserve. But with space, truth reveals itself. Building value through space also creates curiosity. When someone expects you to chase and you do not, it disrupts the pattern. They wonder why you are calm, why you are living fully, why you are not breaking down. That curiosity often draws them back, not because you begged, but because your strength became undeniable. You showed that your happiness does not hinge on their actions, and that shift changes everything. Many fear that allowing space means losing, but the opposite is true. You only lose when you suffocate, when you erase your identity to keep someone close. Space gives you the chance to breathe, to grow, to shine in your own light. And when you shine, you either attract them back with respect or attract something better into your life. Either way, you win. Consider this. Would you rather be with someone because you chased them endlessly or because they chose you willingly, even when you gave them room to walk away? The second option is always stronger, because when someone chooses you without being forced, you know their decision is real. Space makes that choice possible. This is not easy. Allowing space requires courage. It means trusting that what is meant for you will stay and what is not will drift. It means believing that your value is constant, even when someone is too blind to see it. It means understanding that your worth does not decrease when you step back. It increases. Because only those who respect themselves enough to allow space are truly respected in return. The key is how you use that space. You can waste it worrying, replaying every detail, questioning your worth, or you can invest it into yourself, your goals, your passions, your growth. One drains you, the other elevates you. And the higher you rise, the more obvious your value becomes. Because people are drawn to those who evolve, not those who remain stuck in fear. Space also reveals priorities. If someone values you, they will notice the absence, they will feel the distance, they will reach out. And if they do not, that silence becomes its own answer. Painful, yes, but also liberating, because knowing the truth frees you from waiting endlessly for someone who never intended to stay. That knowledge is a gift, even if it comes wrapped in silence. Remember this: distance is not always the end. Sometimes it is the soil where deeper respect grows. Sometimes it is the mirror that reflects your strength back to you. Sometimes it is the lesson that teaches you to hold yourself higher. But it only becomes valuable if you allow it. If you fight it, space feels like rejection. If you embrace it, space becomes your ally. So when he pulls away, let space work for you, not against you. Let it increase your value instead of diminishing it. Let it remind both of you that your presence is something to be cherished, not taken for granted. And most of all, let it prove to you that you are never weaker because of distance. You're stronger, wiser, and more radiant when you use it to grow. When someone pulls away, the silence can tempt you to forget who you are. You may start lowering your expectations, accepting behaviors that do not match your worth, and convincing yourself that less love is better than none. But this is the moment when you must rise higher. This is when you remind yourself of your standards. Standards are not rules designed to keep people out. They are the foundation that keeps you steady when emotions want to drag you down. They are the compass that points you back to your truth when confusion tries to cloud your vision. Without standards, you drift. With them, you stand tall, unshaken by temporary distance. Think about it. Every time you lower what you deserve, you send yourself a message. That message says, I am not worthy of more. Over time, that belief sinks deep into your subconscious and shapes the way you act, think, and respond. But when you hold your standards high, you send a different message. You say, my worth is not negotiable. And that belief empowers everything about you. Psychology proves that people treat you according to the boundaries you set. If you allow constant disrespect, it becomes the pattern. If you tolerate half-hearted effort, it becomes the norm. But when you expect respect, when you demand honesty through your actions, when you refuse to shrink into silence, you create a standard. And human behavior rises or falls to meet that standard. This is not about arrogance. It is not about being unkind or rigid. It is about love for yourself. Because the truth is simple. You cannot force anyone else to value you, but you can refuse to devalue yourself. You may not control their choices, but you control what you allow. And every time you honor your standards, you strengthen the relationship you have with yourself, the one relationship that sets the tone for all others. Standards are also protection. When you know clearly what you deserve, you do not get trapped in endless waiting. You do not spend months or years hoping someone will change. You see the truth sooner, because your standards filter out behavior that does not belong in your life. Instead of clinging to distance, you measure it against your worth, and you decide what you will or will not accept. Let's be honest. It is easy to forget your standards when your heart is involved. Feelings are powerful. They make excuses. They whisper, maybe it's just a phase. Maybe if I hold on tighter, he will see my value. But feelings are not facts. And without standards, emotions lead you into cycles of pain. Your standards are what bring you back to clarity. They remind you that your life is too precious to be spent begging for what should flow naturally. Ask yourself, what kind of love do you truly want? Do you want someone who shows up only when it is easy, or someone who stands by you even when it is hard? Do you want a connection built on guessing or one built on trust? Do you want affection that feels conditional or love that is steady and real? Your answers reveal your standards. And once you see them clearly, you must honor them. When you hold strong to your standards, something powerful happens. People who cannot meet them will drift away, and that may hurt at first. But in the long run, it protects you from living beneath your value. And the ones who can rise to your standards will step forward. Because true connection is never built on lowering yourself. It is built on lifting both people higher. Your standards also inspire respect. Think of the people you admire most. They are not the ones who gave away their energy for scraps of attention. They are the ones who knew their value and lived by it. They carried themselves with quiet confidence, refusing to settle for less than what they deserved. That confidence is not reserved for a few. It is available to you the moment you choose to live by your standards. There will be times when you feel the pull to compromise, when loneliness whispers louder than self-respect. In those moments, remind yourself that short-term comfort is not worth long-term regret. Lowering your standards for temporary closeness only leaves you emptier later. But holding your standards, even through silence, builds a life where love is real, where respect is mutual, and where your heart is safe. Remember this, your standards are not a burden. They are not walls to keep people away. They are a lighthouse, guiding the right people toward you and warning the wrong ones to stay away. Without that light, you drift in the dark, hoping someone will steer you safely. With it, you know exactly where you stand. And that clarity is power. So when someone pulls back, do not shrink into fear. Do not silence your needs. Do not trade your standards for fleeting attention. Stand firm. Hold your ground. Protect your dignity, because the love you want cannot be built on bending until you break. It can only be built on the strength of knowing what you deserve. And here's the truth. When you honor your standards, you may lose people, but you will never lose yourself. And the one person you cannot afford to lose is you. That is why your standards matter. They are not just about love. They are about life. They are about creating a reality where you are seen, valued, and cherished for who you truly are. There is a power that comes when you turn the focus inward. When someone grows distant, the natural response is to pour more energy into them, trying to close the gap. But real strength comes when you pour that energy into yourself. Because the most attractive force in this world is a person who invests in their own growth and stands confident in their independence. When you focus on yourself, you shift from waiting to creating. Instead of asking why someone is stepping back, you ask how you can step forward in your own life. This change of direction is life-changing. It frees you from depending on another person's choices to define your happiness. You no longer sit in silence hoping for validation. You create it within yourself through progress, discipline, and vision. Human psychology proves that growth builds confidence. When you challenge yourself, when you learn, when you improve in any area of life, your brain releases chemicals that fuel pride and satisfaction. That energy radiates from you, and people sense it without you saying a word. Growth makes you magnetic. Independence makes you unforgettable. And when you embody both, you no longer chase, you attract. Ask yourself, what areas of your life have been waiting for your attention? Is there a dream you have delayed because you were too focused on someone else's presence? Is there a skill you wanted to learn but kept putting off? Is there a goal you imagined achieving but allowed distractions to stop you? These are the places where your energy belongs. Because every step you take toward becoming a stronger version of yourself not only benefits you, but also changes how others perceive and respond to you. Independence is not about isolation. It is not about building walls and cutting yourself off. Independence is about standing tall in your own identity. It is about knowing that even if someone pulls away, your life does not collapse. It is about creating a foundation so solid that no person's absence can shake your balance. That kind of strength is rare, and it commands respect. Consider how powerful it feels to know you are whole with or without anyone else. That wholeness makes your presence more valuable because you are not seeking love out of desperation. You are sharing it out of abundance. You no longer cling to someone to fill your emptiness because you have already filled it yourself. And that shift changes everything. Focusing on growth also heals the wounds of distance. When you pour time into yourself, you discover that the ache of someone pulling away begins to fade. Progress has a way of soothing pain. Each new achievement, each step of improvement, builds a sense of pride that replaces fear with excitement. Instead of wondering when someone will return, you begin to wonder what else you can create, who else you can become, how much further you can rise. There is another truth here. Independence is deeply attractive. People are drawn to those who shine on their own. When you do not need constant reassurance, when you thrive regardless of who stays or leaves, you embody a rare strength. And often that strength draws people back, not because you begged, but because you became impossible to ignore. Growth also teaches you patience. Progress does not happen overnight. It requires consistency, effort, and focus. The same is true in relationships. By committing to your own growth, you learn to embrace the process instead of demanding immediate results. This mindset shift reduces anxiety and increases resilience. You begin to trust timing instead of fighting it. Think about it. When you spend your time improving yourself, you no longer feel powerless in the face of distance. You realize that no matter what happens, you are winning because you are building something within yourself that no one can take away. Whether that person comes back or not, you are stronger. Whether they choose you or not, you are advancing. That is the kind of victory that lasts forever. Psychologists often say that identity should never be tied completely to one role, one relationship, or one person. When it is, loss becomes unbearable. But when your identity is rooted in your growth, your passions, your values, you are unshakable. You become a complete individual who adds to a relationship instead of relying on it for survival. That balance is the key to lasting love, because only two whole people can build something strong together. So ask yourself again, where can you grow right now? Maybe it is your career. Maybe it is your health. Maybe it is your mindset. Maybe it is your confidence. Choose one area and start. Small steps matter. Reading one book, learning one skill, practicing one new habit, these things compound. And as you grow, you begin to see that your energy was never wasted. It was simply waiting for the right direction. Independence also gives you freedom. Freedom to decide what you want. Freedom to walk away from what does not serve you. Freedom to live boldly without fear of being alone. Because when you know you can stand alone, you never have to settle for less than what you truly deserve. That is the power of growth. That is the beauty of independence. And here's the truth. When you rise, everything in your life rises with you. Your energy shifts, your standards lift, your presence becomes stronger. The people around you feel the difference. And in that strength, you stop worrying about who is pulling away, because you are too busy moving forward. Pain is not the end of your story. Pain is the beginning of transformation. When someone distances themselves, it hurts because it shakes the foundation of what you hoped for. But pain, when embraced the right way, becomes the fuel that pushes you higher than you ever imagined. It is not the presence of suffering that breaks you. It is the decision to remain in it without growth. The moment you choose to turn pain into power, everything changes. Think of pain as a signal. It tells you where something is missing, where healing is needed, where strength must be built. Instead of running from it, lean into it. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? That single question transforms the experience. Instead of being a victim of hurt, you become a student of it. And every lesson pain carries has the potential to make you stronger, wiser, and more unshakable. Psychologists often say that the human brain responds to pain by seeking meaning. When we give pain a purpose, it loses its power to destroy us. That is why people who rise from heartbreak, loss, or rejection often become the strongest and most inspiring. They decided that the pain would not end them, it would shape them. You can make the same decision. Turning pain into power begins with perspective. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can always control how you interpret it. If you choose to see distance as abandonment, it will weaken you. But if you choose to see it as redirection, it empowers you. The same event can either chain you down or set you free, depending on the meaning you attach to it. Think about the times in your life when something painful pushed you into growth you never expected. Maybe a closed door led you to a better opportunity. Maybe a rejection revealed your own strength. Maybe a loss taught you the value of self-respect. Each moment of pain carried a hidden gift. And the same is true now. The hurt you feel is not here to destroy you, it is here to awaken you. Turning pain into power also means refusing to let it define your worth. Someone pulling away does not mean you are unlovable. It does not mean you are lacking. It means the connection was not aligned, and that knowledge is protection, not punishment. The power lies in reminding yourself daily that your value is not reduced by another person's inability to see it. Your worth is constant, unchanging, and unshakable. One of the strongest ways to transform pain is to use it as fuel. Every tear, every sleepless night, every ache in your chest, channel it. Let it push you to work harder on yourself, to set higher standards, to create a life so fulfilling that no absence can break it. Greatness has often been born out of struggle. People who reach extraordinary levels of success are often those who turned heartbreak, rejection, or doubt into determination. Your story can follow the same path. Pain also sharpens empathy. When you have walked through hurt, you understand others more deeply. You develop compassion, patience, and the ability to connect at a level many cannot. What once felt like weakness becomes a source of strength. Instead of seeing pain as something that ruined you, you begin to see it as something that expanded your heart. And a heart that has been stretched by struggle has more room for real love when it comes. Remember, the pain you feel today will not last forever. Time has a way of healing, but what you do with that time determines who you become. If you waste it replaying memories and begging for answers, the pain lingers. But if you spend it building yourself, dreaming bigger, and rising higher, the pain transforms into power. It becomes the foundation of a version of you who is unstoppable. The truth is, every powerful person you admire has a story of pain. They did not become strong because life was easy. They became strong because life tested them, and they refused to stay down. Your pain is not proof of weakness. It is proof that you are alive, that you are capable of feeling deeply, and that you have the chance to create something greater out of it. So stand tall in your pain. Do not run from it. Do not numb it. Face it with courage. Say to yourself, this will not break me. This will build me. And let that belief guide you forward. Because once you learn how to turn pain into power, nothing can stop you. Not distance, not rejection, not silence, nothing. And here is the most important truth. The person who walked away may or may not return, but you will never be the same. You will be stronger. You will be wiser. You will be more complete. You will rise from this, not as someone who was abandoned, but as someone who discovered their own power. That is the gift hidden in the pain. So let the hurt fuel you. Let the distance teach you. Let the silence strengthen you, because in the end, the pain you feel today will become the power you carry tomorrow.